Number 2, the necessity of self-care and pushing those boundaries. I did not want to admit to myself that my PMO habit was directly tied to how and why I took care of myself. I have been an avid gym-goer, reader, and learner since middle school. These are great habits that formed a good reputation for me and positive, healthy behavior. But it was also when my behavior started progressing to levels out of my control. Once I hit my 20s, my perfectionism pushed me in school and work endeavors. I did things that were good for me to try to be someone who others wanted to emulate and be like. This can only take you so far. Eventually, you have to want to emulate and be like yourself. And behind all of the perfect behavior and image I had was this behavior that I was ashamed of. I didn't want to be me. That crushed me. Despite having and doing all the things I had, this one thing was holding me back. I was scared to face everything else that would have to change in order to actually like myself. Number 3, a willingness to reinvent yourself. If you're like me, this behavior has existed since your early teens, maybe even earlier. Do not expect to successfully change your behavior if you are not willing to accept change in everything else as well. This means career, social group, hobbies, and other activities, substance use, even or especially your closest relationships. One of my biggest fears is that doing what was necessary for my reboot would impact my business and earning potential. Well, guess what? It did. My income went down, but it wasn't initially by choice. The circumstances made it so. My business and industry went through massive changes that bankrupted people I know. I had multiple opportunities to try to hang on to the past and to force things to be the way I wanted them to. Instead, I recognized the opportunity in front of me, and it forced me to reshape my future and myself around behavior that is good for me, good for society, and that I am proud of. Everything changed, and it needed to for me to gain an awareness of my emotions, thoughts, and behavior. This, in turn, led to giant leaps of growth in my reboot and my understanding of myself. JK recently posted something on Facebook that I'll paraphrase here. One of the greatest powers in your reboot will be realizing that changing your compulsive behavior is part of your purpose and mission in life. I'll repeat it. One of the greatest powers in your reboot will be realizing that changing your compulsive sexual behavior is part of your purpose and mission in life. Make no mistake, there will be a clear separation of those who have this behavior under control in healthy ways and those who don't over the next decade. There already is. This societal separation, he says, he's not reading the quote, this societal separation is manifesting already. By now, you have kids who are seeking out pornography from the time that they are 5 to 8 years old. Imagine that. What this means to me is that I have a responsibility to conquer this behavior and to conquer myself to make society better and to rise above the social, interpersonal, and personal behavior that could contribute to the inevitable crashing down of the reality I want to create. Part of my legacy is conquering this behavior bit by bit, understanding it, understanding myself, understanding the strings being pulled behind the curtains in government, business, finance, society, everything that makes it so easy to fall into the grips of out-of-control sexual behavior. It's part of my mission to know everything that there is to know about how I got into my behavior and how to transition into a literal new life. My kids will need it, your kids will need it, society will need it. I plan to be on the right side of history. This purpose creates a much brighter and tangible result in my life that extends beyond myself and that helps me stay in a positive orientation towards correcting this behavior. Number 4, define your reboot early and often. If you're like me, your reboot started out defined as never acting out again. This definition felt like the only way to be successful. However, the more I actually did the work, the daily habits, the awareness practice, and dialoguing, the more I realized that my reboot definition needed some adjusting. Defining your reboot is about defining your motives and goals, taking action, and then adjusting your efforts and mindset to allow your behavior to evolve. And guess what? You're going to slip during the process. That's actually a sign that you're headed in the right direction. You are pushing your boundaries. There is a balance to strike between having standards for yourself and being so strict that you are inevitably going to fail and build more of a sense of shame and failure around your efforts.